There are human hair wigs that are made from natural human hair, and they can go up to a price of about $8,000. So why are human hair wigs so expensive? Well, let's see why. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more amazing So Expensive videos. Let's get started. There is a limited supply. The first and main reason why human hair wigs are so expensive is because they require human hair that can be used in wigs. Firstly, you need to find people that are willing to donate hair in the first place. You can't just take it. The most common places to source that hair is actually in Asian countries like Vietnam, China, and India, where women grow their hair longer and are willing to donate. China is the world's largest exporter of human hair wigs, having exported nearly $820 million worth of human hair wigs in 2019. Other common countries include places like Brazil and Peru. You'll often see these labeled as virgin Indian or virgin Brazilian hair. Companies have to travel out to these places and check the quality and texture of the hair. Then they pay these women a small fee for it. As such, all these efforts to source and pay for the actual hair add up to the cost of the human hair wigs. In some of these cultures, like in Asia, for example, long hair is prized, so some women may be reluctant to cut their hair and give it away. In fact, some women do it out of desperation. Some poor women in Vietnam, for example, see selling their hair as a way to not resort to human trafficking. There have been cases where organized gangs in these countries go up to these women with a knife out and cut their hair to steal it. Also, considering the fact that it takes around 2 months on average to grow 1 inch of human hair, the supply is actually quite limited. And not all human hair is good for use in wigs either. Some may be unhygienic, like containing lice, for example, so some of it would need to be thrown away. To give a rough estimate, it can take around 8 ponytails to make a single wig. Takes ages to make. The second reason why human hair wigs are so expensive is because the wigs themselves take ages to make. The hair has to be cleaned, detangled, sorted, and then attached to a base made from either silk or lace. Then they're sorted by length, color, whether they're dyed or not, and texture. To ensure that the hair is silky, even, and smooth as possible, the hair undergoes a very fine combing. Here, almost 10 to 60% of the hair can be lost. The base is first made by determining the measurements of the head. This is where it gets tricky because measurements are so subjective and vary a lot. Head length and circumference are the primary measurements used. The individual strands or very small groups of hair strands are then knotted into small holes on the base of the wig. The knotting technique differs depending on which direction the hair has to naturally flow. The hair at the top of the head requires a different knotting technique because this is where most people part their hair and attempt various stylings, so the knotting here has to be very robust. The knotting at the top of the wig is done by hand as well, which is a very meticulous process. This stage alone can take about 10 hours per wig. However, this time is worth it because it's what makes the wig look realistic. With the more expensive brands, the hair is much easier to maintain as they're less likely to tangle. This is because of all the hair cuticles are in the same direction. But this is a painstakingly long process to make. Demand is soaring. The third reason why human hair wigs are so expensive is because there's a much higher demand now against an already limited supply. Wearing wigs and hair extensions has become a far more mainstream idea than it used to be, thanks to social media. With the rise of platforms like Instagram and reality stars like the Jenners and the Kardashians, there's a much greater interest in having good hair for the gram. Extensions and wigs are now popular, even in demographics that have never really worn them much before. More and more people are realizing the benefits of natural hair wigs. You can achieve any number of styles without damaging your own hair and scalp. This demand is likely to keep increasing in the near future as more people opt for human hair wigs. In fact, the global wig and hair extension market is projected to grow around 8% between 2018 and 2024. There's an especially high demand for the most realistic wigs possible, as fake-looking synthetic wigs are quite obvious in selfies and videos, so this drives up the cost of human hair wigs even further. Another interesting thing to note is that the consumers these days don't care much about the source of the hair as long as it looks good. Before, people were a bit reluctant to wear body parts that once belonged to somebody, especially a stranger, but that reluctance has seemed to wear off, and human hair wigs are becoming more normalized in beauty culture. This is mainly driven by Instagram, where wig makers can showcase tutorials and videos about their product. The source. The fourth reason why human hair wigs can be expensive is because of where the hair comes from. Some manufacturers will source hair from salons, drain pipes, and hair donations. These are the cheapest form of hair. Even here, a lot of money and time is spent on cleaning and processing the waste hair. If the suppliers are willing to travel and source hair directly from women, then the cost will be higher. Some women in Vietnam can be paid between $1 to $5 for their hair. However, some of the more ethical fair trade suppliers like Remy New York will pay the women as much as $100, making their human hair wigs and extensions naturally more expensive. Another common way to source hair, especially in India, is to collect them from Hindu temples. In the Venkateswara temple in Tirumala, India, for example, there's a ritual where they shave the heads of young girls completely. The leftover hair is then sold cheaply or given to wig makers. In some cases, the hair can cost as much as $700 per pound. Another thing of note is that certain hair types are deemed more valuable than others. Caucasian hair, for example, tends to be more expensive to source. This is partly because the cost of living is higher, and also because the textures and natural hair colors like blonde and red are harder to find. A Caucasian woman with natural blonde hair can be paid as much as $1,500 for their hair. Black Asian hair, on the other hand, tends to be cheaper because there's a larger supply. The base material. The fifth and final reason why human hair wigs are so expensive is because of the base material. The base material is so important because it affects how realistic the wig looks. You can have the purest virgin natural hair, but if that hair's not sitting right on the wig, it can ruin your entire look. The most common materials used to make the base wigs are lace and silk. These could be full lace or lace front wigs, where only part of the base is made from lace. Lace wigs are typically more common and cheaper as the material is synthetic. However, lace wigs don't look very realistic because the knots are visible, and there are artificial-looking grid lines at the base of the hair. Silk wigs offer the most natural and skin-like base. The hair on silk wigs can be parted anywhere. Silk also conceals the hair knots, making it even more lifelike. The most common wigs you'll find in the market tend to use both materials, often silk base with a lace front. Hungry for more So Expensive videos? Click on the playlist to the right to binge watch reasons why more stuff, such as Tibetan Mastiffs, are so expensive.